Vex Alderine, the most feared assassin in the galactic hegemony, stared at the holographic dossier with an unfamiliar sensation crawling up his spine. Dread. His four-fingered hand trembled slightly as he swept through the details of his next. "And target, a human," he muttered, his voice resonating through the mandibles that framed his reptilian face. "They assigned me a human." Across the dimly lit chamber, his handler, Nix Calrian, observed his reaction with curiosity. In 15 cycles of service, she had never seen the legendary killer hesitate. "Is there a problem, Executioner?" she asked, using his formal title. Vex's compound eyes reflected the blue glow of the hologram. "You should have consulted me before." Accepting this contract, Nix approached, her segmented exoskeleton clicking softly against the metallic floor. "The fee is triple your standard rate. The client specifically requested you." "Do you know why the most elite assassins in the sector refuse human contracts?" Vex asked, deactivating the hologram. "Superstition," Nix replied dismissively. "Baseless rumors." Vex chittered, his species equivalent of a bitter laugh. 6 cycles ago, the Dralaxian Syndicate sent their top 3 killers after a human diplomat. None returned. The Syndicate collapsed a month later when their headquarters on Proxima Centauri mysteriously vaporized. "Coincidence," Nix insisted. 4 cycles ago, the legendary Morvath twins accepted a contract on a human trader. Both were found dismembered in their ship, which was locked from the inside, with no evidence of forced entry. The recording systems showed nothing. Nick shifted uncomfortably. "I've heard the stories." "They're not stories," Vex interrupted, rising to his full 3-meter height. 3 cycles ago, I was approached by the hegemony itself to eliminate a human named Leora Thorne. I refused. The assassin who accepted was never seen again, but his neural implant was found embedded in the wall of his private estate, 70 light-years from where the human was last seen. What are you suggesting? That humans have some kind of supernatural protection? Vex moved to the viewport, gazing at the countless stars beyond. No, what makes them dangerous is far worse. They look harmless. No natural weapons, average strength, unremarkable senses. But they're unpredictable. Every species evolves with certain patterns, certain limitations. Humans don't seem to have those boundaries. "You're afraid," Nix observed, her antennae twitching in disbelief. "Yes," Vex admitted without shame. "The target is Tarek Voss, alleged to be a simple xenoanthropologist studying Arcturian culture, completely ordinary by human standards." "Then this should be simple," Nix reasoned. "That's what they always say," Vex replied. "Until the human does something no one anticipated, they think differently. While we evolved to perfect specific survival strategies, humans developed absurd adaptability. They're pattern breakers." The door to their chamber hissed open unexpectedly. Both assassin and handler reached for their weapons, relaxing only when they recognized the intruder, Quix, their pilot. "We've reached the Arcturus system," Quix announced, his translucent skin pulsing nervously. "I've intercepted a transmission. The human has already left the research station." "Where to?" Nix demanded. Quix's fin-like appendages rippled. "That's the problem. There's no record of departure. He was there during the morning check. Gone. By midday, no shuttles launched, no airlocks opened." Vex's compound eyes narrowed. "It begins." "Perhaps they made an error in the log," Nick suggested. "Or perhaps," Vex said, "he somehow knew we were coming." As they debated their next move, none of them noticed the slight shimmer in the corner of the room, a distortion in the air that slowly, deliberately moved toward the ship's control systems. Dawn broke over the capital city of Arcturus IV, casting purple shadows across the crystalline spires. Vex crouched on a rooftop, thermal imaging scanning the bustling alien marketplace below. 3 days had passed since their arrival, with no sign of the human target. "Sector 7 clear," reported Quicks through their neural link. The pilot had reluctantly joined the hunt, covering the spaceport district. Nothing at the research institute either, added Nix, who was posing as a visiting academic. Vex's frustration mounted. Humans were supposed to be conspicuous on alien worlds. Their peculiar morphology and bizarre behaviors typically made them stand out. Yet this Tarek Voss had vanished completely. "Wait!" Nix's voice sharpened. "I have something. A local researcher," mentioning a human who visited the sacred archives yesterday. Vex immediately began moving toward the ancient library complex. "That's restricted to high-level clerics. How would a human gain access?" "Apparently by solving some kind of philosophical riddle that stumped the Arcturian scholars for centuries," Nix replied, her tone betraying her disbelief. "Classic human," Vex muttered. "They see barriers as challenges rather than warnings." The sacred archives rose before him, a twisting spire of living crystal that pulsed with stored knowledge. Security was minimal. The Arcturians relied on philosophical deterrence rather than physical barriers. To them, only the worthy could enter. As Vex approached, he felt the familiar discomfort of being mentally scanned by the structure itself. He had prepared for this, carrying specialized tech to project the brainwave patterns of an Arcturian scholar. Inside, the vast chamber spiraled upward, shelves of crystalline data storage stretching into darkness. Arcturian attendants floated silently between levels, their tentacled forms barely disturbing the air. "I seek knowledge of the outsider," Vex addressed an attendant in flawless Arcturian. The creature's eye stalk swiveled toward him. "The human scholar has departed. His inquiries were unusual." "In what way?" "He sought information about the Voidborn," the attendant replied, a tremor of concern in its telepathic voice. Vex felt his blood cool. The Voidborn were ancient entities, supposedly sealed away by the precursor civilizations. Most considered them myths. Did he say why? He claimed they were returning, that the stellar anomalies in the Cygnus Rift were their harbingers. Vex immediately contacted his team. "The human is tracking something dangerous. This isn't a simple academic study." "I've accessed the archive logs," Nix reported. Voss requested data on something called the Omen of Severed Stars. It's referenced in multiple ancient texts, but always in warnings, never explanations. "The Arcturians wouldn't share such knowledge freely," Vex noted. "They didn't," came Nix's disturbed reply. According to the logs, he already knew more than they did. He was confirming details. Vex's instincts flared. This was why humans were dangerous. They pursued knowledge that other species instinctively avoided. As he exited the archives, a public news display caught his attention. Reports were coming in about a strange phenomenon in the sky above the southern continent, a perfect circle of darkness growing against the purple daylight. "Quicks," Vex called, "get the ship ready. I believe our target has gone south." "Already on it," the pilot replied, "but there's something else. Our ship's navigation system recorded an unauthorized access last night. Someone downloaded the star. Charts for the Cygnus Rift." "He was on our ship?" Nix asked, alarmed. "Not just on it," Quicks confirmed. "He left something. A handwritten note in your quarters, Vex." The assassin froze. "What does it say?" "Just 4 words. Stop following me. Please." The southern continent of Arcturus IV was a wasteland of crystalline formations and purple dust storms. Vex's ship cut through the turbulent atmosphere, following the expanding circle of darkness that now dominated the sky. "Scanners are going haywire," Quicks reported, his translucent digits dancing across the controls. "That's not a natural phenomenon." Nick studied the readings from the science station. "It's like a tear in space-time. Similar to a wormhole, but unstable." Vex stared at the anomaly, remembering the human's warning. He knew we wouldn't stop. That's why he left the note, not out of fear, but pity. The ship shuddered as they approached the anomaly's edge. Below, they spotted a small research outpost nestled between towering crystal formations. A single shuttle was parked outside, standard issue for human Xenor searchers. "There," Vex pointed. "Set us down." As they landed, sensors detected only one life form inside the outpost, human. The team approached cautiously, weapons ready. The outpost door was unlocked, sliding open at their approach. Inside, Tarek Voss sat calmly at a holotable displaying complex calculations. He was remarkably ordinary-looking by human standards, medium build with tanned skin and dark hair streaked with grey. Nothing about his appearance suggested why assassins feared his kind. "I hoped you would be smarter than this," Tarek said without looking up, his voice unexpectedly gentle. "Some hunters are." Vex raised his disruptor pistol. "The hegemony. Once you eliminated, you've accessed forbidden knowledge." Tarek finally looked up, his eyes reflecting an unsettling depth. "The hegemony doesn't understand what's coming. None of you do. That's why I've been gathering the ancient texts. They contain warnings about the Voidborn's return." "The Voidborn are myths," Nick stated firmly. "All myths have origins," Tarek replied, gesturing to the anomaly visible through the window. "That's their harbinger, the severed star. It appears before they manifest." Quick shifted nervously. "If true, why would the hegemony want you dead rather than sharing this information?" "Because," Tarek explained, "some within the hegemony worship them. The cult of endless night believes the Voidborn will elevate their followers when they return." Vex's weapon remained steady. "Convenient explanation for your trespassing in restricted archives across 7 systems." "Search my data," Tarek offered. "You'll find only research on the Voidborn and methods to close the breaches they create. I've spent 20 years tracking their patterns." Something in the human's calm certainty made Vex hesitate. He'd killed hundreds without remorse. But something about this human was different, not threatening, but resolute in a way that transcended ordinary courage. "The anomaly is expanding," Quix warned, checking his portable scanner. "Yes," Tarek nodded. "We have perhaps 30 minutes before the first Voidborn emerges. If you're going to kill me, do it now. Otherwise, I could use your help setting up the containment field." Vex lowered his weapon slightly. "What containment field?" Tarek gestured to several devices around the room. "Modified quantum resonators. They can seal the breach temporarily. I've done this twice before on remote worlds." "That's impossible," Nix objected. "No current technology can manipulate space-time rifts." "Not current technology," Tarek agreed. "This is based on precursor designs I've pieced together from various archives. It worked on Proxima Centauri and Sirius 9. Vex's compound eyes widened with sudden understanding. "The Dralaxian Syndicate headquarters. That was you?" "They opened a breach deliberately," Tarek explained. "I had no choice but to collapse it, which unfortunately took their station with it." Outside, the darkness in the sky pulsed, and the UA's outpost trembled. Time was running out. "Make your choice, assassin," Tarek said calmly. "Kill me as ordered, or help me save this world." The ground quaked beneath them as the skyborne rift expanded. Dark tendrils of energy lashed downward, striking the crystalline landscape and shattering formations that had stood for millennia. "Decision. Time!" Tarek said, already moving to activate his equipment. "Those tendrils are just the beginning. When the Voidborn fully manifest, they'll consume everything, starting with conscious minds." Vex holstered his weapon. "Quix, help the human. Nix, secure the perimeter." Nix's antennae twitched in surprise. "We're abandoning the contract." "We're postponing it," Vex replied. "If he's lying, we complete the mission afterward. If not..." Tarek worked methodically, directing Quix to position quantum resonators in a specific pattern around the outpost. "These need to form a perfect hexagonal array," he explained. "The geometry matters." As they worked, Vex studied the human with growing curiosity. "You've been evading assassins for years. Why not seek protection?" The Earth Confederation would shield you. Can't risk it, Tarek replied, calibrating a device. The cult has infiltrated governments throughout the galaxy, including Earth's. That's how they get the coordinates for these rituals. Rituals? Nyx asked from the doorway, her weapon trained on the darkening sky. The breaches aren't natural, Tarek explained. They're created by specific harmonic frequencies broadcast at precise astronomical alignments. The cult provides the technology. Their worshippers provide the locations. A distant howl echoed across the landscape, neither mechanical nor organic, but something wholly alien. They're coming through, Tarek warned, his voice tight. We need to complete the array now. Outside, the purple dust began swirling upward in unnatural patterns, forming twisted columns that reached toward the rift. Within these columns, shapes began to materialize, amorphous at first, then solidifying into forms that defied comprehension, geometries that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space. Voidborn, Tarek confirmed, his calm facade cracking slightly. Earlier than I expected. Vex had seen countless horrors across the galaxy, but these entities struck primal fear into his core. Their movements followed no logical pattern. Their forms shifted constantly, as if reality itself rejected their existence. How do we fight them? Quix asked, his translucent skin paling. We don't, Tarek replied, activating the final resonator. We seal the breach and banish them back to whatever dimension they came from. As the quantum array powered up, the nearest voidborn entities turned toward the outpost, sensing the threat. They moved with impossible speed, covering ground without, seeming to traverse the space between. They're coming for the array, Nyx warned, firing her disruptor. The energy beam passed through the entities without effect. Conventional weapons are useless, Tarek shouted over the rising wind. Keep them away from the resonators for 2 more minutes. Vex accessed his armor's emergency protocols, deploying a temporal distortion field, a last-resort technology banned in civilized space. It wouldn't harm the entities, but might slow their advance. This is why, he realized aloud, this is why humans are feared by assassins. What? Nyx asked, backing toward the outpost. They don't follow the rules, Vex replied, watching Tarek work. They challenge things we accept as immutable. They see threats we've learned to ignore. As the quantum array reached full power, Tarek turned to them. I need to manually trigger the resonance cascade. The feedback will be intense. You won't survive, Quix observed. Perhaps not, Tarek admitted. But neither will the breach. Vex made a decision. I'll do it. My armor might withstand the feedback. Tarek shook his head. The trigger requires specific neural patterns, human patterns. That's why I've been doing this alone. Before they could argue further, the Voidborn breached the temporal field, their impossible forms flowing through reality. Like oil through water, one reached the nearest resonator, its touch causing the device to frost over. Go, Tarek commanded, pushing the others toward their ship. Get clear of the containment radius. As Vex hesitated, the human met his gaze with unexpected compassion. You've seen what's at stake now. Find the others like me. Help them. The cult is planning something bigger. This is just one breach of many. The assassin ship lifted off as the quantum array reached critical resonance. Below them, the outpost glowed with increasing intensity, a nexus of energy pushing back against the darkness spreading from the rift. We're abandoning the human, Quix asked, his pilot's instincts already taking them to a safe distance. He made his choice, Vex replied, watching through the viewport, as we made ours. The resonance cascade triggered with blinding brilliance. Energy surged upward from the hexagonal array, colliding with the rift in a silent explosion of light. For a moment, it seemed the darkness would overwhelm the light, but then the rift began to collapse inward, pulling the manifestations of the Voidborn back with it. It's working, Nyx observed, her scientific curiosity overriding her previous skepticism. As the ship's sensors recorded the event, Vex accessed the outpost communication system remotely. To his surprise, it was still functioning, transmitting data even as the structure itself was torn apart by opposing forces. "He's still alive," Vex announced, "and sending information." The transmission contained compressed research data, coordinates of other potential breach sites, methods for detecting the harmonic frequencies used to create them, and profiles of known cult members within the hegemony's highest ranks. He knew he wouldn't survive, Nix realized. This whole encounter, he was passing the torch. The rift collapsed completely with a final pulse of energy that washed over their ship like a physical wave. When the light faded, the outpost was gone, leaving only a perfectly circular crystalline formation where it had stood. "Scanners show no human life signs," Quix confirmed. "No Voidborn either." Vex stood silent, processing what they had witnessed. After long moments he spoke. "Delete all records of this contract. As far as anyone knows, we failed to locate the target." "The hegemony won't be pleased," Nix warned. "The hegemony is compromised," Vex replied. "The human was right. There are forces at work beyond political boundaries." "What will you do?" Quix asked, setting course away from the devastation. Vex studied the data Tarek had transmitted. "First, I'm going to find out why the most dangerous assassins in the galaxy fear humans, not just any humans, specific ones like Tarek Vos." The answer came 3 weeks later, after Vex infiltrated a secure archive on the hegemony homeworld. Hidden among classified xenobiology reports was the truth about certain humans, individuals who possessed an inexplicable sensitivity to dimensional disturbances, able to detect breaches before they fully formed. These humans had been quietly fighting an interdimensional war for centuries, a conflict most species remained blissfully unaware of. They operated without organization or formal structure, guided only by their unique perception and stubborn determination. What made them truly dangerous wasn't physical prowess or advanced technology, but something more fundamental: their capacity to face cosmic horrors with open eyes and still act with purpose. While other species evolved to ignore or worship what they couldn't understand, these humans confronted it directly. 6 months after the Arcturus incident, Vex Aldurin, once the hegemony's premier assassin, became something else entirely. A hunter of cultists, a sealer of breaches. He assembled a network of like-minded individuals from across species lines, all dedicated to the cause Tarek Vos had died for. Rumors spread among the assassin guilds. Contracts on certain humans were now refused outright, not from fear of the humans themselves, but fear of what they represented, the thin line between existence and oblivion. On the anniversary of Tarek's sacrifice, Vex stood on a clifftop on Earth, watching the sunset. Beside him was Ella Vos, Tarek's daughter, who possessed the same dimensional sensitivity as her father. "They're coming again," she said simply, gazing at stars not yet visible in the evening sky. "I can feel the pressure building." "Where?" Vex asked, his former assassin's instincts now repurposed. "Everywhere," she replied, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "But this time we're ready." Across the galaxy, other sensitives were already moving into position, ordinary humans with extraordinary perception, each carrying quantum resonators based on Tarek's design. They were teachers, merchants, diplomats, and travelers, unremarkable until the moment they needed to be remarkable, and following discreetly behind them, providing resources, security, and when necessary lethal force against cultists, were former assassins who had learned the truth about why humans were feared, not because they were physically imposing or technologically superior, but because they refused to accept that some horrors were inevitable. They insisted on fighting even when the battle seemed impossible. They chose to stand against the darkness, not because they could win, but because someone had to try. In the end, that was why the elite assassins feared certain humans. Not for what they could do to the assassins, but for what they revealed about the universe. That some battles were worth sacrificing everything for, that courage wasn't measured by the likelihood of success, but by the importance of the fight. And that was a dangerous idea indeed.